Buckle up, folks, as we get ready to take a journey from 1996 all the way through 2023 and slice and dice our way through every movie in the Scream franchise, ranking them from worst to best. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Justin here as always, guys. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Let's talk about 6 movies today. We're going to be ranking every movie in the Scream franchise, and as I've said before, I have reviewed the first 4 Scream movies and Scream 6. My review for Scream 5 is coming very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. But today, guys, we're going to take a journey. We're going to take a journey across the decades and rank every movie in the Scream franchise, a franchise that I have a lot of fun with. Their hits, their misses, as with any franchise, but this is one of the more consistent franchises that horror has to offer. I think that's fairly undeniable. They stick to a formula. They've stuck to that formula for a long time, and only since recently in, say, Scream 6 have they really started to shake things up and make things a little bit differently. Neve Campbell wasn't in this one. Dewey, of course, was not in Scream 6. R.I.P., buddy. But I do love the Scream franchise, and some I really, really love, and some not so much. And that's hence the ranking video today. This is one of only a couple ranking videos that I've done on this channel, so if you enjoy these rankings, first of all, of course, like this video, comment down below, let me know your Scream ranking, and also let me know what series you'd like to see me rank next, because that's something I'm going to dive into in 2023. I have reviewed and ranked the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. If you want to check that out, I will link that down below, as well as all my reviews for the individual Scream movies. But guys, let's just go ahead and dive into my ranking. As most ranking individuals on YouTube tend to say at the beginning of these videos, of course, this is just my opinion. This is just silly good fun. We're just having a good old time here talking horror. This is just a conversation. This is meant to bring us together, not tear us apart.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
So guys, be kind in the comments. Drop your rankings down below. Feel free to do that. Please don't razz me too hard on my ranking. Everybody's opinions is a little bit different. And this is just meant to spark a little conversation and have a little fun due to the excitement of the new Scream movie. So guys, let's go ahead and start with this ranking. And we're going to start the only way you can start a proper ranking, at the worst, the bottom of the list. Now, although I don't hate this movie, this is just a movie that I felt fell at the bottom of the stack for many, many reasons that I will dive into. And my number 6 in my Scream ranking is 5 Cream, the one that I haven't reviewed yet. And, you know, this is a movie that I was very excited about. I'm always excited to see a franchise resurrected and brought back from the dead. This one just wasn't it for me. Now, there's a lot of factors that played into this falling at the bottom of my list. I didn't hate this movie, first of all. When I eventually do review this movie, I'll dive into it a little bit deeper. But overall, I felt the plot was weak. The characterization and some of the acting was not that great. We were getting to know these brand new characters that were introduced to sort of revamp the series, bring it into a new generation. And although I really dug Jenna Ortega, I think she's fantastic in this movie, and she's fantastic in anything, really. But the lead fell on Melissa Barrera, and although she did an okay job, I felt that her performance was just really lacking. A lot of it was due to the writing. I just found her, the main character, the one we're supposed to be rooting for the most, to be fairly boring, and I hated the reveal. I felt the reveal was very boring, and that actor, Quaid, I think it's Dennis Quaid's son, he didn't strike me as that. I don't know. This movie just kind of was a big waste of time for me. I really didn't get into it. I found it pretty boring. Next up, coming at number 5 is Scream 4. I know a lot of people like Scream 4, and there's a lot to like about Scream 4. To start off with, the opening sequence of this movie, the classic Scream opening scene, I think is at the top of the pile. By the way, if you guys want me to rank the opening scenes, that's something I've been wanting to do. If you are interested in seeing that, maybe I'll knock that out. But as far as an opening scene, this is about as good as you're going to get, is about as creative as you're going to get in a Scream franchise. This sort of kind of Russian nesting doll aspect with these multiple sequences that keep repeating, sort of scene within a scene within a scene within a movie aspect, I thought was awesome. All the cameos at the beginning of the movie were great. Another thing I also really did like about this movie was the sort of film nerd culture that that had to do a lot with this movie, with Kieran Culkin and the Stab films. This is probably you know, maybe one other movie in this series is a little bit more meta, but I felt they really pushed the meta to the limit in this movie. This was the first Scream movie in 10 10 years. It had been 10 years since Scream 3, so they had to mix things up, but still overall, I felt the movie was a little flat for me. This was the first time I felt myself being bored throughout the movie and like kind of just the same old thing being rehashed again. It didn't really separate itself enough from the other movies. Neve Campbell and a couple of the other legacy characters returning to me felt a little shoehorned in this installment, and overall I just felt it was one of the weaker things. And also, you can't talk about the Scream movie without talking about the killer reveal. And although I like the motivations of these two killers almost more so than several of the other movies, it just didn't match up with the physical attributes of Emma Roberts and Kieran Culkin. They both together weighed maybe about 12 pounds, but in this movie they're throwing people around and beating the shit out of people, and it just I just wasn't buying it. As soon as Emma Roberts pulled her mask off, I was like, come on, this kid couldn't beat up a third grader. And she's like throwing full-grown adults around who have been through this shit before, who have been through the ringer. So that was an aspect too. But as far as this goes, I just wasn't feeling it, man. Just wasn't feeling it. Kirby's awesome. She was a good addition to this movie, but it just couldn't save the overall experience, to me at least, from being just a little boring, a little blah. And that's why it falls at number 5 on my ranking. Now as we get a little bit further along, we're pushing towards the top of this list. We're going to start getting into movies that I enjoyed a little bit more. That being said, this next movie didn't quite have enough that I loved about it to put it more towards the top of the heap, and that's why Scream 2 for me sits at number 4. Now this movie does have a lot going for it. There's some good casting. I like Jerry O'Connell. There's some other aspects of the movie that I do like. Of course, Randy is front and center in here, but that couldn't stop this movie from feeling overall just like a basic retread, almost a carbon copy of the first one. It just didn't quite differentiate itself enough from Scream 1. I do like the college setting, and again, I liked Randy and some of the other aspects of the movie, but to me, the main thing I really think, aside from the movie just being a little repetitive, is the killer reveal. Now, of all the movies, the killer reveal is just something that people are either gonna love or hate, and usually, to me, it's not like a determining factor whether I like the movie or not. It's usually just something that either I love or it just kind of annoys me a little bit. This is the one movie in the franchise where the reveal, or rather the performance of the killer, just killed the movie itself for me. The third act of Scream 2, I just do not like. I talk about this a lot in my review. Laurie Metcalf's over-the-top performance, like terrible wardrobe and her like bulging eyes, that it's just so over-the-top and cheesy that they really lose me in that third act with that big like stage play thing where Jerry O'Connell's hanging from the thing. It was just too much of not enough, really. One thing I did forget to mention as I look at my notes here, the opening scene of Scream 2 may be my favorite opening scene of the entire film, by the way, just to try to be a little bit more positive about this movie, because I don't hate it. It's just not at the top of the list there. Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps and that just beautifully chaotic opening scene is harrowing. Her standing up in front of the screen while the movie plays on top of her. Nobody realizes that she's actually dying. The kill scene in the bathroom is awesome. I love the opening scene. After the opening scene, for me, that's really the best thing that I liked about that movie. And Jerry O'Connell, I always like to see him in a movie. But without rambling on any further, number 4, Scream 2. I know a lot of people like that movie. It's just, I'm sorry, guys. Number 4. I feel like the next movie in this ranking is probably going to be the most controversial pick in my entire ranking, and that's because I'm putting Scream 3 at number 3. You guys probably expected that in the bottom 3 there, but nope. It's in my top 3. I love this movie. I don't know what to say. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is arguably probably the most cheesy and ridiculous and sort of off-tone movie. It's kind of the black sheep of the series, but there's just something I find charming and entertaining about it. Understandably, there's a lot to sort of hate on when it comes to this movie. Creed being prominently featured in the soundtrack, everybody running around with their Hollywood movie counterparts. Parker Posey is just ridiculous in this movie. Courtney Cox's bangs seem to be a point of contention for a lot of people in this movie. I think what it is that I love about this movie is that it's set in Hollywood, in the movie-making, film-making industry. I'm a big sucker for that. Neve Campbell's role was reduced due to her schedule and things like that, so Gale and Dewey are kind of pushed to the forefront of this movie, and they're a little extra in this movie. I completely understand that. Also, Kevin Williamson did not write this installment, and you can feel his absence. This movie is, like I said, almost an outsider in the series. It doesn't feel like the first two did. And again, talking about the killer reveal, this is probably the lamest worst and most convoluted, stupid killer reveal in the entire series. I'm not a big fan of that. It was just kind of ridiculous to just pull this half-brother out of the woodwork, and I didn't really dig the killer reveal. But again, I'm a sucker for how silly and ridiculous this movie is, and the ultra meta Hollywood movie making aspect. I'm just a sucker, and I know this movie isn't great, but I think it just has that charm. That's part of the charm, and that's just why I like it so much. I don't know. I can't explain myself, and I don't need to explain myself why I like Scream 3. I just do, and that's Scream 3 at number 3. Now we're getting into the top 2 movies, and I actually don't think my top 2 picks are that controversial, or maybe they will be. I don't know. But that leads me to number 2, and number 2 on the list is Scream 6. I just posted my review for that one, and if anybody who watched that review, you probably know that I love this movie. I felt it was a real return to form for what a Scream movie should feel like. It doesn't exactly feel like the first Scream movie, but it has a lot of the spirit of that. A lot of the soundtrack cues, like Dewey's theme playing was really nostalgic. A lot of the crane shots and the camera work, they did harken back to the original Scream, but this is brutal. We're seeing more gore than we have in years. Maybe it might be the most gory film in the franchise. All the characters finally found their own. What lacked in 5 as far as like the chemistry between these characters and the performances and just the general writing and development of the core 4, as they dubbed themselves in the movie. I felt they were fantastic. Melissa Barrera really stepped it up where I thought she lacked and was a little boring in the first one. She's still a fairly subdued character, but they gave her a lot more to chew on with this sort of looming inner beast, her dark passenger that seems to be riding inside her. I really liked that aspect of it. Another great opening scene, because it is new. I won't talk about the opening scene too much, but they did something different, and I really dug that. The setting of New York is fantastic. Overall, this movie is a lot of fun. It's not perfect. There's a couple things. You can watch my review if you want to see me pick on a couple things in the movie, including some aspects of Kirby's return that I didn't like, and some of the killer reveal stuff. But other than that, I felt this is a really solid movie. Not just a solid Scream movie, but just a suspenseful horror film. It balanced the comedy well, it balanced the character drama well, and it balanced the Ghostface. We have lots of Ghostface doing crazy shit. We've never seen Ghostface wield a shotgun before. And it's just, I had a blast with it. I saw it in 3D, the movie was barely in 3D whatsoever. But I guess it was cool to see I guess it was the first movie, the Scream movie in 3D. But yeah, that's my pick for number 2, and by now you could probably guess and probably predicted that my number 1 is, of course, the original Scream. There's no beating Scream. Not only is it the best movie in this franchise, it's one of the best horror movies in horror history, and it's one of the best horror movies of the 90s, of course. I love it. Everything, the opening scene is absolutely iconic. Every character in that movie is, again, iconic. The clothes, the music, the vibe, the decade. It has the best killer reveal in the entire series. I don't think anybody will argue with that. And this movie benefited from us not knowing any of these characters. It's not like the other sequels where you're kind of waiting for that reveal and just kind of like, who are they going to choose for this to be? Because after the first movie's like bombshell reveal, there's really no topping that. You just can't top an OG Scream character being a killer. That will never be captured again unless they have Nev come back and be the killer, or Gale or Jenna Ortega. Unless they really go crazy like that, I don't think we'll ever just get the bombshell drop of a Scream Ghostface killer. I don't think that'll ever be the case. I don't think we'll ever reach those heights again. But Scream 6 came pretty close, but number 1 is it's the OG. Everybody knows that Scream 1's the best. People who do pick other movies in the franchise over 1, although I respect it, I don't really understand that ranking, but it's not my job to understand somebody else's ranking. We're supposed to respect everybody's rankings. So guys, if you enjoyed mine, like this video, and again, drop your rankings down below. I am super curious to hear everybody's new rankings with Scream 6 included. So drop that in the comments down below, guys. And I think we're done here. I want to try to do one more ranking. I think if you guys want to see it, I will do a opening scene ranking. I don't know if I want to go through and rank all of the killers. I just don't have time for that. Maybe when the next one comes out, I'll do that. But if you want to see me rank the opening scenes, let me know. But guys, I think we're done here. Stay weird. Remember to always be your goddamn self, and I will see you in the next one. Or I'll see you on another time. Laters, Salamenge. Bye.